Good evening, all, and welcome to Kalbardr's Corner for this final episode of Consort Conversations. I am Lord Kalbardr Geiler, Companion of the Meridian Cross, Companion of the Argent Comet, Companion of the Compostela, and Reaper, coming to you live, as always, from the Barony of the Osprey on the southern coast of Meridies. Now, for this series, you will, of course, recognize my co-host from a late night at the Korner Tavern, the current crowned princess of Artemisia, and has served as a consort to the now Prince Sean for 17 years. I would like to once again, and I guess for the last time, other than when we play some games in the hopefully future, Her Highness, Princess Qamar al-Nisa. Good evening, Your Highness.
Good evening, Cal. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for this series. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to get that out there, and kind of sad, kind of excited that this is my last show.
Like I said, I hope it is not your actual last show with me forever. So
but this series.
We are long overdue for another game night. I know everybody's been busy, so I've been giving you guys in the Westies a little time because you're ramping up. But I have some dice itching needing to happen. So hopefully soon.
I think we can assist with that.
There you go. All right. And for tonight's episode, we are joined by a longtime viewer but first-time callers, also from Artemisia, His Lordship Magnus and Her Excellency Ramut. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Good evening.
If you will sort of introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about you and y'all and how you came to be and I guess why you're awesome.
Go ahead.
Well, as Cal said, I'm Magnus. I've been playing in the SCA for roughly 20 years now and have been consorting with Her Excellency for how long have we been together now?
9.
9 years.
Your Excellency?
I am Excellency Ramut al-Taiba. I've been playing in the SCA since 93. With a couple hiatuses and breaks. And I've been His Lordship's consort for about 9 years. He primarily does mostly the martial, and I primarily do arts and science with a little bit of martial thrown in, and he just has a little bit of arts and science thrown in. So
Awesome. Thank you both for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Especially for the last minute fill-in. We've been scrambling to find a good guest for this. And Ramut, you and I had spoke about this, and I sort of had you in my back pocket. And then some other stuff fell through, and I was like, crap. Hold on. So yeah, we appreciate you stepping up sort of last minute for us.
Not a problem.
All right. So this is now episode 8, I think, not counting the special interview, somewhere in there. We've talked about a ton of stuff on the topic of consorting. Obviously, most of it is in our game. Most of it is going to be related to crown tournaments and heavy fighting, right? That is where we hear about consorts the most, and frankly, where it, I'm going to say this controversially, matters the most, right? I know, calm down. I'm saying that on purpose, right? That's not at all true, obviously, but it's where we hear about it the most because it's what comes, obviously, as Her Highness knows, what comes with the job, right? But we've talked about there's a lot that goes into it that is not just that part of it. The support of your fighter, the support of your partner, whatever it is so much of that. And we've had this question asked a couple times about non-martial things, and I'm bulking for this episode non-martial, including equestrian, including archery, any of the things that are not, the tournament-based combat system that we know and love on the field, and then of course arts and sciences. And until this topic came up, I had never even thought of it, and I was like, wait, that's technically a thing. We got to talk about that. So, Nisa, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Well, I feel like from what I've seen, the consort is not recognized for non-martial the same as it is for martial events. So I know just from what I've seen that your partner, the person that supports you, which really in the end is kind of what a consort does in whatever form, is still extremely important, even in the non-martial, not events, but the non-martial things that we do. And so I wanted to definitely make sure that we brought that in and talked about it because it is just as important, I feel. It's just not as recognized.
So I guess let's start out with two things. One, to our audience, during this episode, if you have questions either about the topic we're talking on or really consorting in general, anything we haven't covered, something you think we've missed, drop them in the comments or in the chat, wherever you are, along with your name and title so we can talk about them. And we'll try to address them if we can, as much as we can. Or if you have a comment, if you have some experience in the field on something we're talking about, please address that in the comments as well, and I'll try to bring that up on the screen so we can discuss it. All right, so let's start with you guys mentioned some consorting for each other, right? So, and we've talked about this a little bit with the two nights we had on with both of them fighting. So this is the similar topic to that, right? Obviously, both of you are not fighting per se, but same ideas. So let's give us some background about that. What have sort of how did that start for you guys, and what all have you done in that realm?
Do you want to start? Or you want me to?
I could start. So when I first asked her to be my consort so that I could enter a crown list, and she agreed, I was ecstatic about it. And as far as I was concerned, I also became her consort because it couldn't just be a one-way relationship. I had to find out what her needs were away from the field because it was not going to be just the one day or until the job finished sort of a deal. So, and it's my job to make sure her needs are met and that I'm helping her accomplish her goals as well.
And then for me, when he had asked, I made it very clear that, I prefer to do arts and science activities. I enjoy going to classes, teaching classes, going to displays and competitions, and that I didn't want that to necessarily take a back burner on what we were going to do. So that, yes, when it came to things like Crown, that I would definitely be there and that I needed to know what his expectations were of me. But for events where there was martial activities as well as arts and sciences, how we could balance that out. So we kind of had to have a conversation about who's doing what and when, and kind of figure things out so it was a healthy balance between the two.
So when you're seeing as we're focusing more on the non-martial, so how, Magnus, what have you discovered? Like what is your basic, say it is just an arts and sciences event, what does your day look like?
If it at just an arts and sciences event, my day will consist of helping her get her display set up, staying with her, making sure she has the water and the food she needs because she will forget about it. She will stay at that booth all day and forget, just as I would on the field. I'm not stuck there all day, just as she's not stuck with me during a fighting event. So I can wander off, look at the stuff, maybe take a class if that's available. But I always make sure I wander back, I check on her, and that she has what she needs to be both healthy, comfortable, and have a good time at that event.
Cool.
So really, there's less during the. So okay, so I'm familiar with A&S events. Maybe all our viewers aren't. So obviously you have the setup. If the arts and sciences fair, you set it up and then you stand by it all day and sort of present it to the judges or the populace. And so not all fairs are like that actually. And a little inner kingdom anthropology here. A lot of Meridian fairs is just set up and walk away. Everyone I've ever done, we just put the stuff out and the judges come by. We can hang out near them, and we usually have like an hour, like a meeting with the judges. But other than that, we don't attend our stuff unless you if you're in a cooking display, you sort of have to attend to stuff throughout the day. But but it's just set up, which is great for me, especially as a fighter, because I can go throw it on the table and then go fight during the day, and then come back and pick it up later and see what the judges had to say. But so it sounds like that's really where it is you're busy early on and then busy later on, but you've got a lot of time in the middle that's open. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. I have to make sure I check on her during that large open time.
Right.
I have a tendency to have squirrel brain during the large open time. Like he says, if he doesn't check on me, I may have had an ADD moment and got distracted and forgotten to eat my lunch that he made sure that I had right next to me.
Right. It's there with a giant flashing neon sign on it, and you still forgot about it, right? I get that. All right, so obviously the toting the boxes, getting the stuff set up, that's a lot. What do you do outside of the tournament day? We talked a lot about the tournament day for the fighters. What do you do before that, the months leading up, the weeks leading up to that, a Kingdom A&S event or a large, A&S tournament?
That's where a lot of the work comes in. That's making sure she has the supplies she needs, running trips for her while she's in the middle of a project so that she doesn't have to stop working to go get more of what she ran out of. It's also lending a helpful ear or eye to whatever she's creating so she gets another set or opinion on it before it hits that piece. Sometimes that extra set of eyes will just catch something. Other times it's telling her to stop singing at the top of your lungs. It's 2 a.m. and it's time for bed.
Yep.
Which also does happen from time to time.
It does
Things
happen.
on track.
Yeah. And then there are the few times where I just leave. Like the safest thing for me to do is to get out of her way occasionally.
Just
Makes complete sense.
set the drink down and walk off, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
I
a lot of-
see that. Sorry, go ahead.
A lot of it definitely is that as an artist, you kind of conceptualize what your project's going to be and kind of using him as inspiration. If I do this project, is this something that is going to make me happy and proud, but is it going to reflect well upon him as well? Like, I don't want to put out work that is, just shoddy. Not only does it reflect on him, but it would reflect on, myself and my Laurel, and I wouldn't want to do that. So kind of bouncing ideas off him, making sure that I don't overstep maybe what I think I'm capable of or what I actually am capable of. So he has to listen to a bazillion ideas rapid fired at him because I get very excited and passionate about things.
Well, and that's similar to the martial arts. So, I mean, it's just, like I said, it's not recognized. And I just wanted to make sure that we talked about it because it is that support in the background. That's a lot of it because it's making sure that that person can have the time that they need and has the supplies that they need to do the thing that they love, whether it is a martial art or an arts and sciences or archery or whatever it is. So.
And you said the key word a minute ago that we've mentioned a couple times, and that's inspiration, right?
Yes.
So we talk about fighters all the time. We salute our inspiration. We that's a thing that's part of this the rote of fighting. Mm-hmm. But we never see that in ANS. We never acknowledge that consort as part of the ANS process. But that's cool. It's really nice to hear that. And obviously, your work reflects on your Laurel because your Laurel's teaching you, right? That's an easy, obvious. We all see that. But nobody ever thinks about my wife's ANS thing doesn't reflect on me. Well, but it does. It reflects on us and our house and the people around her. So, again, it's something I never considered. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So we actually have a completely unrelated topic for a moment. I'm going to shift for just a second. We had a question from our audience. This is from Magdalena. What culture and time are you wearing, Your Excellency? Apparently your garb is fascinating.
Ooh, I am wearing late 14th century Persian during the Timurid invasion of Persia. My baronial Taj is made by Mr. Zaleh, and also my veil is picked out from her. And then I've got multiple layers of all layered up that I've made. So thank you.
Nice. A baronial Taj. I've never considered. I love it. I like that.
I also have the very beautiful, gorgeous coronet made by His Lordship Snorri out of Caid. But I kind of, what do I feel like today? Do I feel like I want to wear the red lipstick and some colors and super papa, or do I want to be like the super stoic, shiny? So options. Girls like options.
There you go. That's actually I've been considering that, looking at my Scythian persona. If one day I ever have a coronet I have to wear, I'm like, what am I going to do with that? Nothing fits, nothing works as Scythian. I don't know what to do, so I'm still pondering on that. How to turn a Scythian hat into a coronet. It's coming one day. I mean, I don't have to worry about it right now, but it's coming.
Well, so got the Taj with all my 6 pearls, and it's under the 2 inches for Artemisa's. You can do it. Just got to get creative.
That's right. All right, so again, some interkingdom anthropology here. We have a weird thing in Meridies where our kingdom ANS and our crown list are on the same day. And some of the crown list, some of the coronation. So we occasionally have events like that where we have a large list thing and a large ANS thing. Do you guys have stuff like that in Artemisia? Where there's an obvious time problem for the two of you?
Some of our larger camping events, they do definitely have a conflicting schedule where there is martial track at the same time that there's arts and science or bardic track. And when that happens, we kind of just discuss, hey, this is where I'm going to be at this time. This is where I'm going to be at this time. You know, I understand you can't be there, but could you come by and at least say hello, you know, make your presence known, give me a chance to, you know, salute you or use you as my inspiration, and then go back to your activities.
There was actually a Whipping Winds a few years back where I marched off from the melee field in full armor to the ANS display to check on her and make sure she was all right.
Nice.
So we just, it's a lot of adapting and adjusting your plans. And sometimes it is a choice. Like, hey, at this event, you know, there's ANS and martial at the same time. I'm not going to focus at that event on my ANS, and instead I'll be purely serving as a constant consort to you while you're fighting to make sure you're fed and you're watered and, you know, inspired, and you know that I'm there for you. And there's other times where he'll be like, you know what, I'm sore from fighting the day before. I know I'm supposed to be fighting today. I'm going to come sit and do classes with you.
Sometimes we use each other as an easy out, and that's okay too.
That is okay.
Yes.
I wasn't going to say it, but I'm glad you did, Your Highness. Thank you for that.
It's self-care, right, Your Highness?
Yes, it is actually, and it is important. And you know, it's I tell my kids this actually a lot, and that is, if you need to get out of something that you don't want to do for whatever reason, just say your mom said you can't.
Ooh. I don't know if that would work.
I don't think so.
Well, but in your case, like when it's
Can I
this
say Her
type of
Highness
thing,
says that you can't?
there's that. But you can also say, you know what? I'm going to go support my lord. I'm going to go support my lady today.
Right.
It's kind of, and it's not that they said you have to. It's just that that's the choice that you've made. And I think in the end that says a lot for that other person as well, because they're taking the time to support their other, even though, and like you said, it takes conversations, it takes communication. You're like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. Hey, these are at the same times. Here's how we're going to do it. So, because it is all important. You don't want one person to have to not because of the other person. Because in the end, that just breeds resentment. And that's never good for any kind of a relationship, friendship, whatever. It's not good.
I was not expecting this tonight, but of course, His Highness is going to appearance. For those who His Highness is currently traveling, so I wasn't sure if you'd be watching that. So, welcome, Sean. Thank you for joining us. There you go. Done my work for the evening. So we say these words 1,000 times: inspiration and communication. Right? That's the key to consorting, I think. And realistically, the key to go watch any of my stuff I've done in relationships in the Polyam perspective shows. Communication is the key to most relationships, whether they're romantic, sexual, arts and sciences, fighting, whatever relationship is, communication is the key. And I think just having that ability to know what you need, right, as a person, so that you can communicate that to the other. And I know that for me, as a fighter, that's hard, especially when I put the helmet on and start losing brain cells. I forget what I need. So that communication ahead of time is super important, because then each other can be prepared for that. And I know Sifa, when she starts doing ANS stuff,
I was going to say, I think it's the same when you sit in a display or especially a competition. You get so focused on what you're doing in that moment, and everything else is just, especially time.
Well,
so therefore you forget to eat and you forget to drink. And go ahead, Ramit.
You want to give your best that you can and show, hey, I know what I'm, displaying, and this is what I've done that may not necessarily all be documented, and this is why I did what I did. And you really want to be, your own advocate for what you did as an artist. And so when you're busy doing that, you don't think that, when was the last time I drank some water? When was the last time I maybe went and got some fresh air? You don't think about those things.
Yeah.
Or, hey, how long have I been standing? Maybe I should sit down for a bit,
Yeah.
Or maybe I've been sitting too long. Maybe I need to walk. You don't necessarily think about those because you kind of get that hyper focus.
Yeah. I think
I call it
we all do it despite
fighter
because
brain.
we're doing what we love.
Right.
And yes, Your Highness is completely right. It's fighter brain, though we may not be fighting. It's what we love, and we
Yeah.
all end up doing that.
It's just that focus that happens. And that's why we need our supports. All of us do. We all function better, whether it's SCA related or not, when we have that support.
Yep.
It just is. And again, communication.
Yeah, I'll admit it's one of the benefits of being polyamorous is having Crystal or Kisa with us here. Is there are times where once I can sort of get them set up on one side, and then I can step away and go do what I need to do, and then Kisa comes and checks in, and sort of she bounces back and forth between the two of us, and that's super helpful. I mean, I know it's not for everybody, I know it's not a thing, but it's also talking about the sort of household dynamics, right? The other support we have outside of the couple or your immediate consort. I assume the same is for arts and sciences. I know I would think as an artisan, teaming up with other artisans, finding other artisans that, having somebody sort of on duty to be you're keeping us alive in this hour, and sort of take turns doing that so that you're not focusing the entire time on keeping everybody alive.
You just wait, Cal. You wait till Kisa finds her thing, and you think it's easier now.
You're not wrong. Fortunately, her thing is generally the partying stuff at night. So we do serious stuff during the day, then her and I go partying at night. So it works out usually. She people watches and parties so she can help support during the day. So it helps.
You just wait. She's going to find her thing that happens during the day.
Right. And then I don't get to fight anymore.
I think Her Highness is right.
No, yeah, you're
You know
definitely
what?
not wrong.
It goes back to communication. You guys will figure it out. You guys will bounce between each other and figure it out.
So Ramu, you mentioned you said you do a little bit of martial work too. What are you into?
Well, currently I can't do anything because I'm in a medical boot, but I do heavy fight. I do rapier fight. So occasionally I'll suit up and do that. And then, that's just generally at practice. I generally don't fight at events. Our plan is to fight at a war, like, at Pensig or similar, where I'll do combat archery because I enjoy that, because I enjoy the archery aspect of it. But I also do like fighting with the glaive and sword and shield. So haven't done that in quite a while.
Do you feel like putting the helmet on and sort of having that kit time helps you be a better consort?
I think that just that realization is that we kind of each need to bounce off each other and support each other and carry ourselves in a way that definitely will not ever tarnish each other. Kind of already was there before putting the helmet on. And I actually heavy fought before dating Magnus. Sure. So I kind of already had that. In fact, I had really wanted to be a heavy fighter before I wanted to do arts and sciences, strangely enough. Thanks to one of our good friends, Rorik. Like, hey, we got to get you in armor. We got to get you suited up and put you on the field. Like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And as fun as it is, it definitely wasn't my passion because all through school I was an artisan. So I think that in the long run, do I understand it better when I have my helmet on or because of it? Not necessarily. I think it's just that interpersonal communication kind of part of my brain that says you just have to communicate and make sure each other's needs are met.
And then opposite question to you, Magnus. So you said you mentioned you do a little artwork, or what is your art passion?
I do a little artwork. I've done stone carving, brewing, some null binding and whatnot. Tried a whole bunch of other things. As a fighter, I do think it actually really helped me see what her needs were and everything, because I could kind of grasp what she needed outside of an event. Really helped me with because I started bouncing ideas off of her and asking for her opinion on how things looked. Yeah,
I'll say, having entered a couple ANS fairs now, it was a shock to me how different that was than what I expected. Walking into one of those ANS fairs and then getting experience that sort of by myself and going, oh, this is a thing. Okay, got it. I know what I'm looking for now, so I know how to help Siva better. But it was a wake up call. Again, fighting comes naturally to me. It's an easy sport to me, and ANS comes easier now that I found this. I sort of understand it, but it definitely took me a minute to get in there. So yeah, I think that's I was glad that I've done both, so I can support easier. So I'm happy to hear at least that's helped you some as well. Yeah. Your Highness, have you ever had any armor time? Anything? You ever swung a stick around?
No, it's not my thing. I've done archery in the past. I'd like to get back into that. I don't do the arts and sciences I do are not related to the SCA. So I don't do a lot of I don't do any display or anything like that. So for me, it's super easy because I can just focus on Sean and his needs and I just and then I can take the occasional class or whatever that I want to learn about. But and then the kids for a while, that was my focus. So we'll see what happens now that I don't have to focus on them quite as much. Ziva's still a little more of a focus, but she's 12 now, so she's starting to break away and find her own stuff. So, yeah, the archery is probably the most that I've done, but I haven't done combat archery or anything like that. I have no desire to put on armor and get hit with anything, really.
That's pretty much what Siva said.
That's my thing. I just don't want to be hit with stuff. I'll stick to my card weaving and things like that, spinning, stuff like that.
Just wait till Ziva's a little older and she starts getting in. You start having to service her consort for a bit and support
I know.
her.
Well, Quentin's starting rapier right now, so
Nice.
Nice.
I'll get to help with him a little bit until while he's getting all settled and figuring things out. So I stay busy.
Yeah. Well, and now you have a fancy hat you have to deal with as well. So you have a whole different job to do.
Right?
Busy on top of busy.
Right. So we've mentioned archery a couple of times, and I know that came up in the show briefing as well. I know my way around a bow and arrow. I know which end the pointy in, but I've never shot in an ANS event. At least not like any sort of big thing. Is there anything that goes into an archery event that is important for a consort to know that we need to talk about? You might have an idea?
I would say it's very similar to a fighting event because they have tournaments. They need to stay on the field. Someone needs to make sure that they're getting water, and if they need some protein or whatever, that's happening, just like a fighter. So it's very similar to that. Obviously, well, no, not obviously. So yeah, they are not just the tournaments, but they'll go out there and shoot for hours if you let them. So again, that loss of self-care and you just need to make sure it helps to have people around, whether it's household or your inspiration, that are going to make sure you're getting your needs met that you forget you have.
Well, and for archery, when I'm shooting or he's shooting, if either one of us don't say, hey, by the way, you need to have a hat, you need to have some sunscreen. Unlike heavy fighting, like you might go out on the heavy field and do melees all day, you might get a sunburn. Archery field, you're guaranteed, unless it is raining, to get a sunburn. And if, as consort, if you don't remind each other, one or both of us would wind up just completely, extremely sunburnt and dehydrated. Because no matter how much water you drink, once you're sunburned, it seems to go downhill.
Right.
It does.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, our dog is trying to say hello.
As I mentioned before, it's not official SCA or YouTube show until there's a puppy on the screen somewhere, or in your case, a cat puppy.
Cat puppy.
Yeah, no, I agree that
Yeah.
Yep. Spending the entire day out on the field, on the range, and you just get sucked into what you're doing. And
well, it's that fighter brain, or Zen artisan brain, or
whatever you want to call it.
And I personally don't do equestrian. that's kind of kicking up in our kingdom finally, where we're actually having a lot more equestrian. But I know watching those riders, they would be on the horse all day long if there wasn't somebody checking in to make sure both they and the horse, because most horses will run and gallop until they're done and then they just stop. But their riders won't. Their riders will keep going. So unless they're self-caring for the horse and somebody's self-caring for them, it's not going to happen without their consort.
Yeah, I would hate to see. I mean, equestrian is such a niche thing. It's hard to find somebody who's an equestrian who does that as much. But I would be interested to hear about that, to see, because most horse people take care of their horses first,
but not themselves.
Right? So I was like, they're literally. I think there may even be more need there because they're literally tending to a 1,000-pound animal. Like, whereas, wearing armor is heavy and it takes time, and sure, I have needs for that. That horse is a whole separate thing, though. I'd be interested to hear if there's anything special out of that, because
that's true, though, because they will focus on the animal. They focus on what they're doing, and then the animal, and they don't focus on themselves.
Yeah. We just had a local event here in the Barony of Bronzehelm Conquest, and they did equestrian. And I mean, all the riders were completely worn and tuckered out and in desperate need of some hydration and some sustenance as soon as they were done, because they were busy riding and busy caring for their horses
all day,
or helping with other people's horses, or the field marshals out on the field. They're busy, making sure that all the items are set up on the equestrian field. So they're out there not doing self-care because they're busy doing activities.
Well, and that's something we haven't talked about is the marshals. And it's the same for them as far as not so much an inspiration, but support system. I mean, they do the same thing. They get out there. They're on the melee field along with the fighters. And they're just out there doing their thing and making sure everybody's as safe as can possibly be. And they also need to make sure that they're getting what they need.
Yeah, I would see usually, at least I see here a lot, that the event usually ends up supporting the marshal and supporting the herald. Somebody from the event staff, water bearers or whatever, make sure that herald in staff gets tended to more. And I mean, granted, they also support the fighters a lot too. So I'm not saying that never happens. I was thinking about that though, as far as the event sport, right? So usually at the fighting field we have some sort of water table. In the ANS hall, there's usually some sort of water table. There's some sort of food, snacks nearby. There's usually something in reach. I realize that doesn't probably happen for the equestrians and the archers, though, because they're usually so far removed that it's harder to support them. So that's something to consider. I think that'd be a special consort consideration, is if your fighter is way far away, making sure they're getting supported. We have an NS event here up in somewhere in Tennessee, I think, that there's fighting at the event, but it's like half a mile from the ANS site, because it's the ANS thing over here, but fighters are just over there fighting because they're bored and want to go fight, right? But it's a thing, like we have to make sure they get supported way out there. So similar consideration.
Yeah, because equestrian and archery are definitely, and thrown weapons those are the things that are pushed out the farthest because they have the most safety concerns.
Yeah.
And so they tend to they tend to be removed from the main event. And so sometimes that gets overlooked.
Which is sad, because I want to see the horses, frankly.
I know.
Let's see here. All right. I'll just from Sir Tierlock. My consort sent my squires after me, physically taking my sword and shield in my hand when I had gone too long without a break. Without a consort looking out for us, we'd definitely be in trouble. There you go. So that's one of the things, I don't get to fight anymore. My wife told me I couldn't, and she was absolutely correct. There you go.
and just to be clear, she told, and I happen to know this story because he's part of our household, so I've heard it a few times. She said, I don't care how long, something to the effect, I probably won't quote it correctly, but something to the effect of, I don't care how long you fight, but every time you take your helmet off, you need to drink some water. Because otherwise, you're not going to be able to fight as long as you want to fight.
Right.
And then once he realized, he's like, oh, she has a point. So now it's a habit. But yeah, it's not so much I can't fight because she said no. It's more She reminded me that I need to hydrate.
That my body, in fact, does have actual needs.
Yes, it has boundaries.
There you go. Oh, let's see. What else, guys? Anything else we've missed? We're 36 minutes in, so we're on the verge of. Hold on.
Oh, that's exactly what she said.
Oh, poor Sir Tyrlock.
Like I said, being part of the household, I've heard that story.
You're privy to the information there.
Well, and I can't think of even any fighter or any artisan that doesn't have that hyperfixation and forgets those things.
It's just finding the joy in the thing we love. And so you get sucked into it and you just get hyper-focused because you're having a good time and you're loving what you're doing and you forget about the world around you. So
it's totally a trap.
It is.
Definitely.
Yeah, we were. As a matter of fact, Sifa's in the other room sewing at the moment. We have occasional conversation with her. I know, right? Somebody has to have a new caftan to go to somebody's coronation, so she's been busy.
Thank you.
I can't show up looking all slobby. Come on now.
Because it reflects on her.
Exactly.
It does.
Oh, there's a good one. All right, so in the everything else episode, we've talked about ANS, we've talked about Marshall. What about service?
I think that is a really good question. And I think the service aspect often goes to either your consort ends up jumping in to just make sure you're being supported. Again, if you're autocrating an event, they're going to make sure that you're eating. They're going to make sure you're drinking. The stuff that comes before is making sure that you have the time and the support to get the things done that need to be done so that you have time to make those phone calls and you have time to run around and check out sites and just supporting your needs there. Back to if you happen to have a spouse that's your person and you have children, they're taking on making sure that the kiddos are taken care of in one form or another, just out from under your feet or taking them home early so you can make sure the site gets cleaned up. I think it really is that inspiration and it reflects on your other person, right? Like it reflects on that person. So
definitely. Yeah. Well, having been in several different officer roles. Ooh, we got feedback suddenly.
Go ahead.
Having been in several different officer roles, and him as my consort and significant other, like there are times as seneschal, you can't say what it is that is on your mind that you're dealing with because that is private, business for the barony, and all he could do is just be that soft place to land, as a consort and inspire me to continue on and not give up. And not, get frustrated. But if I had to break down, he was there for me. Or when I was shadowing, if I needed to find different ways to be a better shadowing, like, hey, what do you think of this flyer layout versus this flyer layout? He was that person to bounce the ideas. And then when it came for bringing things to and from demos as shadowing, he was able to help me do that as well. So in the service role, really, it's no different from the arts and science, the bardic, the martial. I mean, we kind of take care of each other depending on whatever role the other is in. And it's really not any different.
Yeah. I think the difference you see a lot in I think this applies to ANS and applies more to service is that it happens more in couples, right? So in actual paired couples, you see a lot less I'm going to use romantic partners in ANS things and a lot less romantic partners in service things because I think there's more that goes into it. Maybe it's more day to day. Like whereas there's a lot that goes into being a consort for a fighter.
Correct.
There's a lot more of the day to day stuff like checking the flyers and toting the stuff to the demos, whatever that happens as a shadow lane or as an officer of something. I know. So personally, it's actually something whenever I'm going to take a job, which I do a lot, I always go, okay, I just got offered this thing or I'm fixing to submit for this thing. Are we okay with this? because it's not me, it's us submitting for that job, and vice versa. I think
And
that's
sometimes people forget to do that double check before they raise their hand, and then it's kind of a surprise for their consort when they suddenly have a whole bunch of extra workload.
That's happened a couple times.
right.
But doesn't it help a lot when you actually have that conversation before, right? Like that's,
does.
I mean, but that's what we're talking about is in the end, if you don't get too excited, there's a reason why the Pelicans are the Pelicans, because they forget to say no. But there's that conversation that has to happen because you do have a support group. Same with, honestly, when you have a fighter that is crown contenders, right? Like that is a conversation that you have to have with your household. We are going in for this. Are you guys okay to support us? Like, do you have the strength and the energy and the spoons to take this on? Especially when either you have just reigned or someone in that close umbrella of people has just reigned, and if everybody's burnt out, you either need to make a different plan or not go for that one, right?
Definitely.
Or
Yes.
be willing to accept the fact that your household is just done and you need to, again, make a different plan.
Correct.
So.
I think that plays in the next question too, which we talked about a little bit in the household dynamics. But yeah, with the more than two people in the arrangement, right? So that's a household, or or in my case, of the a polyamorous couple thing. It's the same idea. Like you have to have the conversation with all people involved, the official consort, but also the other people that consort deals with. So in our case, if I was going to fight in Crown List, well, my wife's currently the exchequer. That's a lot of work for her right now. If I also were to win Crown, that's a lot to deal with. Or can she even do that? Does she, or is one of those like
you would have to step down,
right? So you have to find those things. Is she okay with stepping down in the middle of her term if I were to win Crown? Right. Not that I have any chance of A, winning Crown, or B, probably won't any in the next year, anyways. But needless to say, that comes up.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So-
For Magnus to compete in Crown, not last fall, but the previous spring and fall, because I was seneschal of our barony at the time, I had to have a deputy that, should he have been victorious, would be able to step in, because I couldn't be seneschal and on the thrones at the same time.
Right.
Yep.
So it's definitely a conversation that, as consort, especially if you are in a service role, that you have to have ahead of time, and make sure that you're okay with it, and make sure that you have a deputy that's okay with it, or if not, find a deputy that is okay with it right away.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
We had a comment from Mel Cork here. Says her husband has given up knowing what she even volunteers for, and just asks what she needs. Which, that's a supporting husband right there. Just, all right, what do you need today? I don't care what it's for. Just tell me what to do.
I think Magnus is getting to that point. I just haven't quite gotten him there yet.
I don't know what job this is, but what box am I toting today? Because they all look the same at some point, right? It's all the same boxes, just different stuff in them.
Yep.
Yeah.
What art supply do you need now? What new hobby are you picking up within your hobby of hobbies?
Exactly.
How much is that book?
Sometimes it's best not to ask that question.
Right. That's just here you go. Here's the card. Have a great day. But I think that really plays into it with the service ideas. There's so much to that again we forget about, right? Because again, that formal relationship's not there. We never have that acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And I say never. I know there's some like some of the Far West, some of the Palatine baronies, they do have things that are non-martial for some of their baronial seats and some of their things like that as well. So I don't know those things, so I can't speak to them directly, but at least some of that plays into that. So in that case, a consort may play more of a role.
That's true.
In the competition. So please don't say that they never do. But I don't think there's ever a service.
I totally
one.
forgot about that as well. And yeah, the Palatine Barony and ANS competition is part of what they do. And that whole consort crown conversation you would have to have.
Right.
And you also have to remember, even if you're not considered a crown contender, anybody can have a good day. So you still have to have a serious conversation.
Sure. All right. So yeah, that was I'd written that down. I was like, Palatine berries, I think we need to talk about, because that's the thing. I think they at least cover heavy rapier and NS stuff. I don't think they have they may have a service component. I think their resume is considered as part of their process, which is, I guess, is considered as a service component. So it's a thing. It's something to look at, and would probably in their determination of who their consort is, right? I know that's a conversation I've had of when I'm looking at my consort. So my day-to-day consorts are my ladies, and that works out. When I fight in Crown, it will not be the two of them, because they're not the best for that job, right? They have too much service going on. They have too much other things in their life, and just there's better choices for the political environment, right? And that was the whole thing I was looking at. I was like, this is not an easy discussion to have. I didn't realize that I started having that serious. I was like, oh, my consort's an easy decision. But that's the thing. So.
I don't. We've had that conversation, like, hey, would you be interested in, having somebody else as your consort, if you're going for Crown, or would it be okay if I had somebody else as my consort, for this arts and science? And generally, the answer is usually for us, no, right, unless it's a special circumstance.
Right.
Like we have a friend who's got a young son, and he is just enamored with the SCA, and he's very, very active in it. And if he wanted, or asked me to be his consort, for an arts and science, I would go, Magnus, hey, can I enter this arts and science competition for, Tibor, because he inspires me to be what embodies the dream in this competition. So I want to be the best, for him, to make the dream better for him. Can I do that? And that might be, that special circumstance where he says yes. Yeah, right. But generally our answer is like, I'd rather you didn't. But
and when Sean's been fighting for so long before we got together, and he had fought for her, now Grace, Karen, and they had done one reign when Sean and I had gotten together, and it was super early on in our relationship, and he let me know early on. He's like, I need you to know that I want to make Karen a duchess, and so that means that as far as crown tourneys go, I'll be fighting for her until that happens. And as it worked out really well, because I knew I wasn't ready. And so I got to experience it a little bit from the outside, but still being his primary other. So I got to see what was happening before I decided if I wanted to step up and try to do that. And I was really fortunate there. But yeah, he fought for her because that was the deal. And again, we discussed that early on, and it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with her.
Right.
So.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we've covered all of it. I think there's no more to talk about for consorting. We're done completely. That's not the case. There's probably so much more we missed. But no, I think realistically, this and we'll sum up in a second. But it's all about the communication, the inspiration, that those keywords we keep saying, and that's the bit of it. So, all right, let me do a little bit of business, and then we'll do some final thoughts and wrap the show up, wrap the series up even. So, all right. So coming up next on Kalbardr's Corner. So next week, bringing it back down to some fun topics. We've had a couple of really heavy topics on Coffee with Cal. So I'll be joined by Magister Taryn the Wayward. Oh, vicious pupper. Apparently they're excited about heraldry too. So we're going to talk about heraldry and how heraldry is fun. Heraldry can be fun. I'm a super heraldic nerd. Taryn's a super heraldic nerd. We're going to nerd about heraldry for like an hour. That's all that's going to be. So grab your coffees, tune in for that. I'm looking forward to it. The following Sunday, I will be taking a week off. It'll be what would be our normal Consort Conversations weekend, but I'll be prepping to go to Coronation. So we'll take that weekend off. The next Sunday, so the one following would be the next Consort Conversations week. I heard there's a new show starting. Ramu, what do you know about that?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I heard this rumor that there was a person who's really super passionate about this topic and the related topics that really finally wanted to have a chance to talk about it and maybe bounce some ideas around with some other amazing people.
Yeah. So if nobody read through the lines on that one, Remote's going to be hosting a new show here on Kalbardr's Corner that we have lovingly titled The Road to Retention. The Road to Retention. So we talk about recruiting a lot, but we don't talk about how to keep them here. So she's going to bring on some great guests who have had experience as Shadowlanes or experience in sort of keeping people in the SCA and pick their brains a little bit. So look for that coming up on this regular weekend. And actually, the weekend of Coronation, I'll be sitting down with Her Excellency again in a live show from Artemisia to talk about retention on Coffee with Cal. So look forward to that coming up, and I'll re-promote that on the next Coffee with Cal as well, so you don't forget. Let's see. Other than that, obviously, if you want to support us on Patreon, look us up, patreon.com/KK Productions. If you want to purchase stickers or other weird things that we offer in our Redbubble, search KK Productions. Or if this is a new thing, and good God, this is weird, but I apparently have a following on TikTok now. So look me up on TikTok at Kalbardr. I don't understand this. I put a thing out there as a challenge, and it blew up. Whatever.
That is awesome. Congratulations, Cal.
Come check me out on TikTok, I guess. It's a thing I do. Remote's seen it, apparently. People have seen me.
I've seen it.
I was in a work meeting today. So we do a Friday work meeting where we talk about like our highs and lows professionally and then like personally. And I was like, yeah, personal high. Apparently I'm blowing up with TikTok. And when the girl's like, yeah, my husband saw your TikTok the other day. They're like 4 states away from me. We don't talk outside of work. And she's like, I recognize that voice. And I was like, so yeah, that's a thing in my life now. So there you go. Look me up on TikTok at Kalbardr. All right. Anybody else got anything they want to promote? Any shows coming up anybody knows about? I think all the shows are sort of winding down. Everybody's busy with like actual events now. So I think I'm like, there's the Sisters interview still going on, so check them out. Is the Shoxy still doing her, like, I think she was doing a level up thing. If not, check that out. Her level up series was really good.
Even if she's not still doing it, go back and look at the stuff.
All those really good episodes.
All of them were amazing.
And just go back and watch the old stuff. Ask Night's Live still out there. Between Two Beers still out there. Go watch those shows. Some great content. If you missed any of it, go back and watch it.
Yeah,
we love our people. Go check them out. All right, so for the last episode of Consort Conversations, I think let's wrap it up. So we'll let our guests go first. Magnus, what's your consorting in a sentence? What's your sum up?
Summing it up, it's really about understanding and having that conversation about what your consort needs. If you never have that conversation, you're never going to be able to do it correctly.
Your Excellency?
I'll agree and echo his remarks, but be gracious about their needs and also your own needs. So if they say they need something and it's outside what you can do, it kind of leaves you vulnerable or open. Be vocal about it and say, look, I can't meet that need. Be realistic. Like, hey, as consort, I want you to attend 16 events throughout the kingdom this year. Oh, well, I can't. Unfortunately, due to work, due to family life, or due to other, I can't do that. I can't be there for you for all 16 events, but I can be there for 12. Would that be acceptable? Be vocal about it and self-advocate, because if you don't say, hey, I can't do something, they're not going to know. And if you try to do something you can't do, you're going to fail.
Your Highness?
I would, yes, all of those things. And then also, if it is within your means to have, if someone says, I can't do that for you. So if it's maybe not so much crown tourney, but I need you or someone on the side at all melees to make sure I'm getting what I need. And that's when you start to fall back on the group of people that you play with, whether they're considered a household or not. But most people have a group that they go with and attend events with, right? So you can fall back on that group to assist you as well. Consort inspiration, it's important and it's wonderful and it's beautiful, but don't forget that you have those other people as well. So if it is something that your immediate consort cannot fulfill, and it is something like being on the sidelines, you can rotate out like some of the other people. It just takes that, again, conversation. And as Ramut said, don't forget to advocate for yourself, because self-care is so, so important. Right now, Sean is in Seattle. He went out to go fight. And because of that, we had to switch up some things with childcare, right? Like I have to make plans to make sure I'm available to get our daughter for school, where he usually picks her up. And so we just had to have that conversation ahead of time so we can make those arrangements and make it happen. And so, or if pretend that I did something besides wandering around. Okay, so let's pretend I'm doing archery and Sean's fighting in a melee, right? Well, there might be some of our household that's not fighting, not in classes at that time, that can run stuff out to the field and we kind of, for melees especially, it's a household thing. We try to support each other, because I'm sorry, but no one can be, I shouldn't say no one, but most of the time, you won't have that one person that can do everything that you need. That's why we have best friends, spouses,
it truly takes a village.
Coffee shop, right? It does take a village. So allow yourself that grace as well.
So my final thoughts of the series. So I think it's interesting. We did communication and support. I'll cover inspiration. And actually, I have a challenge to our viewers out there. So we talk about the consort being an inspiration and the fighter being the inspiration of the consort and vice versa. Personally, it's my goal, and to quote His Highness, do knightly things, right? Be the inspiration for your consort, for the SCA, for your group, for the other people. I think that's part of what we can do to better the society as a whole. If we try to be that inspiration, do the knightly things, and just be amazing at what we do, that helps us, it helps our consort, it helps the organization be better. I think if you do that, that's not only applies to that relationship, it applies to the group as a whole, and it applies to our game that we play. And remember, it's a game, folks. So do those cool things, because we like doing cool things. Yes, we have to do the service stuff. Yes, we have to communicate. You have to do all these other like finicky bits, but like put on the cool hats and wear the cool garb and do the cool inspirational things. Be inspirational. There you go. It's my challenge to you out there. Be inspirational. Do knightly things. Cycling all around there. All right. So I'd like to thank our guests for joining us this evening, again, especially last minute. So we appreciate you joining us. And Ramut, thank you for volunteering or excitedly agreeing to jump on Kalbardr's corner with me.
You are welcome. My pleasure.
Well, I'm looking forward to that new series and just seeing what you bring to the table for it. I love something that I've really tried to do with Kalbardr's Corner in general is bringing people that are excited about a thing, sort of shaking them up and just getting out of the way. That's my goal. So
I don't know if you need to do a whole lot of shaking. I'm pretty excited already about it.
We'll pull the pin and toss it, So
that might be more accurate.
I might have pulled that pin already.
Hey, look, I pulled it. If I pulled it a week ago, a month ago, pin's pulled. I'm there. We're good. And of course, Your Highness, I want to once again thank both you and Sean and even the kids for letting me have you for weeks and weeks and hours at a time for these series. It has been truly my pleasure, and I appreciate you for everything you've done.
Thank you so much. I cannot believe how much there is to this that I even didn't realize, and we've only scratched the surface. So I would just like to put out there that if people have questions still or come up with other ideas, please reach out to me or Cal or someone in your local group. Ask your questions. And yeah, give us your perspective. I would love to hear it, because there's nothing that can't be gained by more knowledge.
There you go. All right, everybody. I want to thank all of you out there for watching this week and every other week. We appreciate you tuning in. It really makes, again, as a content creator on multiple platforms now, it really makes the difference when I see that like button get hit and see the shares happen. It makes me know that I'm doing something right, and I appreciate everybody out there. And please send feedback if you have questions, if you have ideas for other series, send them in. Look us up on Facebook on Kalbardr's Corner, on YouTube at Kalbardr's Corner, or on TikTok at Kalbardr. I'll see you on one of those places. Tune in next week for the next Coffee with Kal, and we'll see you then. This has been Magnus, Ramut, Nisa, and Kal in Kalbardr's Corner. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.